Bolt fam, let's go. We are back for another episode of Chargers Powder Hour. Colin and Miles Raruka here. We are your co-host. My man, how are we doing? You look a little rough. We'll get to that. But how are you doing? And two, how are you feeling?
I've been trying to hide. I was trying to hide my injuries behind my mic, man. But I guess the elephant in the room has been addressed. I do have just a little bit of a fat lip here. All I gotta say is you should see the other guy. Sometimes drinks have been pouring. Sometimes words are said, and sometimes fists are thrown. But you know what? Other than the fact that I sound like a 5-year-old talking sometimes, and I lose control of my saliva during like pretty much every inconvenient moment of my life, I'm here, man. I'm ready to talk some football. Um, and yeah, man. It was a good weekend. Hope everyone had a very, very nice St. Patty's Day. I know, dude. That should be recognized as more of a national holiday for me. It's literally just another 4th of July. It's just another excuse to wear green and go out and get wasted. So, yeah, man. How was your weekend? How was your St. Patty's Day? How was your day to day? Tell me all about it, man.
Weekend was very low key. It's one of those rare weekends as a guy who's been in a relationship for a couple of years, where it was kind of like a bachelor weekend, if you will, where like my girlfriend was out of town, and bachelor weekend, in the sense that it felt like a weekend like before I was like dating anyone, and I was just at home doing absolutely fucking nothing all weekend, like being a piece of shit, basically. So, lots of takeout, lots of Netflix, um, lots of drinking, lots of smoking, and yeah, just chilling, man. Just a lot of hanging out. So, my girlfriend got back on Sunday, and I remembered that I was, in fact, in a relationship again. So, I had to get back to my domestic life, and yeah, no, it was good. It was great, man.
Any shows on Netflix you recommend? Any movies? Anything out right now you would recommend to the viewers?
Ooh, yeah. I actually was watching. Are you a mafia guy? Do you like
I
keeping up
mean,
with the
I
mafia?
do. I need to watch more of it though. I
Okay,
need to watch more.
so here's a really good one. I mean, people in our generation probably, we obviously everyone knows of the mob, the mafia, but I never really knew the story of how it ended and how it came, because like now like everyone knows it doesn't exist anymore, but and everyone knows like, oh, it existed at one time, but like how did it come to be where like that, so Fear City, if you just search Fear City on Netflix. I don't know the exact name of the doc. It's a docu series. There's 3 episodes. They're each like 45-ish minutes, but very very interesting. It's done by the same people that do Don't Fuck with Cats. So if you know that
Oh my
documentary,
god, dude.
yes. So same producers, and it was very good. It's very good. I learned a lot. It's very like informative, but also um, interesting, man. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, we watch movies on those types of stuff, and like that's obviously like Hollywood, and but it's real. It was all real. So it's crazy to think about that. But yeah, no, Fear City. I don't know the name of it, but if you just type in Fear City, you'll find it. So that's what I was watching. That's what I recommend, and it was a good watch.
We're gonna have to have a discussion sometime about Don't Fuck with Cats. If any of you guys have not seen Don't Fuck with Cats, maybe watch it. If you're not,
So
it's not for the faint of heart. I will say that. Yeah, pretty much. I spent my whole weekend, drinking, and I've probably watched about 100 hours of college basketball over the last, like 5 days or so.
yeah, I
So
watched a
that,
decent amount of March Madness that I forgot to throw in there.
yeah,
My bracket's like bending. My bracket is the definition of bending but not breaking.
ESPN, get your shit figured out. I'm in a tournament challenge and I'm like fifth from the bottom, but I have all of my final four teams still in it. So I don't understand how you guys do your scoring, but if someone from ESPN happens to be listening to this, figure it out because there's no way I should be at the bottom, man. But
No, dude,
whatever.
you should be at the top every time.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Never
But
lost.
hey,
LeVar
you know
Ball.
what? Hey, fun weekend, a lot of basketball to be watched. I see you taking a drink there. What do you got? What do you got going on over there tonight, man?
Oh, I'm sipping on some. This is what I got this weekend. So I'm crushing my the rest of my Modelo's here, Especials. But I will say tonight, you're catching me. We're recording after like 4 or 5 beers, so I'm a little. I'm feeling some type of way here. We uh we went golf. Well, we went to the golfing range earlier, hit some balls, and then we went and got some dinner, had some beers, and then we finally made it back home. So I did have a really good apricot wheat beer
Mm.
at the restaurant that we
The
ate at.
local?
No, not local. It was actually right across the street from local in Omaha, but it's 402 Eatery.
Mm. Gotcha.
Yeah, very good place. And yeah, the beer was very good. And then after that I was kind of I'd been drinking a lot of these Modelo's all weekend, so I switched over for a Moscow Mule. So, but no, very good. And now we're back to the old Modelo's and trying to polish off what's left in the fridge. What about yourself?
Yeah, I have a few beers in my fridge. I'm actually just finishing off this Coors Light here. You've probably seen me drink Coors Light a million times. It's definitely one of the more popular ones for me on this show. So, like we've mentioned before, if you guys have any, local beers from maybe Southern Cali or just any other kind of beers at all that you want us to try, please let us know, because as much as I do love these Coors, I'm sure that for the content it gets a little bit repetitive. So please let us know if you have any recommendations, and we will gladly take them into account. So
Hey, the basics are the basics for the reason. The go-tos are the go-tos. So like me, it's any type of cerveza, Good
yeah,
quality. Modelo, Dos
oh yeah,
Equis, Sol, Pacifico, you know the deal, right? You like your Coors Light, Busch Light. I also just I want to say this. I can't wait until you're like out of the college era and
well,
and
I can wait for that to be. I
and
can wait for that.
your
So
beer IQ is just like gotten slowly better.
I will
Not that
say
it's
though, guys,
not like bad, but I just remember being in that phase of like
it's all light beer.
I didn't care what it was as long as I was getting fucked up off it.
Especially this time of year, dude. The weather's starting to get nicer. Beer darts is massive for us. For those of you guys that don't know, it's basically a game where you throw darts at cans and then drink if you hit a can. It's probably the easiest, most mind-numbing game ever. But you got to have some things that you can kind of pace yourself with. But I will say, I'm waiting to bust this out one episode. I do have a Chargers Crown Royale bag. The crown in it, it's probably got like 3/4 left. So I will have to bust that out for you guys some episode, but we're gonna make it a special one before I get going on that. Maybe episode 69. I'll bust that out for you guys. So
Sounds good. Well, hey, let's get this thing kicked off, man. Some fresh news on the horizon, man. The first wave of free agency has come and gone. Exciting news on the Chargers end. Also, other news that we'll get to as well. But off the top, man, biggest thing is the Chargers re-sign, defensive lineman Morgan Fox. They tender Cameron Dicker and Foster Sorrell, bringing those guys back as well, and they re-signed Trey Pipkins to, was it a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal?
let me go look up the exact statistics on that. But yeah, 2 or 3 years. I'm trying to think what else
They
or
also
how much
they
it was
also agreed to
worth.
terms with J.K. Scott and Donald Parham Jr. as well, bringing those guys back. So all in all, J.K. Scott, Donald Parham Jr., Morgan Fox, Cameron Dicker, Foster Sorrell, and Trey Pipkins are coming back as Chargers in 2023. So
There we go, baby. Big moves being made. Yeah, the exact numbers on that for Trey Pipkins. 3 years, about let's see. I'm doing some math here. I see his cap hits over the years. It's about $21 million for Trey Pipkins, 3 years, so about $7 million a year.
Yep.
With a very light cap hit coming this year of 3.75, and then it definitely picks up after that. But no one more deserving of a contract like that. After we've really seen Trey Pipkins go from a fan base liability to someone that is one of Justin Herbert's best friends on that offensive line, and did one hell of a job of keeping him clean last year. So we spoke last offseason about his off-season training and the measures he was taking to try to take that step forward. And after what we saw from him last year, he was more than deserving of every single penny that he got.
Considering the fact that he played last year on like a bum knee and what was it, a bum ankle?
Yeah, he was banged up all year and was just
For like
fighting back for us,
50% of
man.
the season. I think he was only healthy for the first like few games. Dude, yeah, it's crazy to look back on a guy like Trey Pipkins and think that 18 months ago, the narrative around Trey Pipkins was not good.
No,
It
far
was
from.
not good. It was bad. Like let's just
No.
be honest. It was shitty. It was a bust. It was why the fuck does Tom Telesco keep drafting developmental projects in the third round and not the sixth round or the seventh round like it should be? But he gets. I think it all starts with, and I think I'm always going to shout out Duke Manyweather, the offensive line guru. You know, I think that's kind of where it starts. He had already been in the Chargers organization for a couple of years. Obviously, the offensive line coach that left for Miami, Frank Smith, is that who it
Yeah,
is?
Frank Smith was the one that went to Miami, correct?
I think he played a huge role in his development as well. So I want to give him a shout out. And I think the Chargers have generally done a good job the last 5 or so years of like filling that offensive line coach with like top tier talent to try to develop those young guys and to get the most of what they can out of some of those vets and those guys getting older. But dude, yeah, Trey Pipkins is a player that I don't even know if I can't think of a Charger player, at least in recent memory, that has just pulled a complete 180 like Trey Pipkins, going from like I would have been fine releasing him 18 months ago.
No
And just
kidding.
being like, whatever, it bust. Dude sucks. Like, just didn't work out. We swung and missed on that one. And so now he's a legitimate starting right tackle in the NFL. And like legit starting right tackle, like has gotten his game up to a point where it's solid, man. And it's one of the funner stories I think around this, like individual stories around this football team and on this roster. So yeah, super excited for him. He definitely earned his bag. Another offensive lineman Chargers are bringing back, Foster Sorrell. I'm excited about this move as well. Foster Sorrell, younger guy, depth piece for sure. Hopefully he'll get a chance to kind of prove himself more down the road. But I've seen a lot of hype around Foster Sorrell just among the Charger social media pages, and I'm careful to what stock I buy into and what stock I don't buy into. And this is one that I'm still just kind of like observing from the outside, and I'm happy he's at least around so we can see him kind of develop further. So yeah, I'm excited to see that kind of play out. But Cameron Dicker, he's the kicker, man. He's the kicker going forward.
Thank God, man. I bought his jersey just a few months ago. If that didn't go through, man, I would have to start building I got my Melvin Gordon jersey hanging right here. I'm gonna have to hang up like a bunch of old Chargers, like a retirement wall in my room or something along those lines. So thank God for that, man. Dicker the kicker is a Charger for, well, I guess we don't know how long yet, but for the foreseeable future, Dicker the kicker will be the one
At
kicking the
least
ball for us.
at least for this season.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
no, you and me both. You with Cameron Dicker and me with Keenan Allen there for a minute. I was like, God damn, don't let me get his jersey right in time for him.
That's the worst, man. That's the worst pain you can feel as a fan is, ordering someone's jersey and then next thing you know, you don't even get to wear it for a season and
Right.
they're off the team. So, but I want to backtrack just a little bit back to Foster Sorrell. I think Foster Sorrell was a guy that got thrown into a lot of very sticky situations last year. I mean, that Sunday night game against San Fran, his whole job was to keep Nick Bosa off Justin Herbert, and it's. I'm not going to say that he kept the pocket absolutely squeaky clean the whole night, but when you're thrown into a situation like that, I mean, I kind of figured that it was going to be kind of like a Max Crosby situation from Week 18 2 years ago, where it's just like nobody can stop this dude, and he held his own. He held his own out there. So I'm kind of excited to see if they can work him a little bit more into the rotation. Maybe get him some not all pro defensive ends to only block against, and go from there. So I hope that he's training with Trey Pipkins this offseason. A video did surface of Trey Pipkins and Rashawn Slater training together this offseason. So let's hope Sorrell's in the building as well, man.
Oh my God, dude! I'm just the fact that you just said Rashawn Slater's name and like my whole world was just like,
It's
oh
like,
my
holy shit, we still have that guy. Like,
God, dude, we have Rashawn Slater on our team. That's
Colin
just
just nutted on camera thinking about Rashawn
I did.
Slater in a Chargers
I
uniform.
was just like, wow, that seems so nice to have as a left tackle right now. Wow, and the fact that like Jamari Sawyer came in
Oh
and
my
like
god.
held up not only just the fact that he held up on the line as a rookie, but held up the most important position on the line as a rookie is insane. So like, and like that wasn't even like usually when your all pro left tackle goes out, that's the part of the line where you feel it the most throughout the game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, dude, they're just blindside pressure like all day, right? That wasn't the case. I mean, they were still limited in ways like in the run game and whatnot, but like it just, yeah. Shout out to Jamari Sawyer and the entire offensive line for still battling, and it was a serviceable line that they had out there. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I,
just so happy that we get guys like Rashawn Slater back.
I feel like it's rare to say this as a Chargers fan, just based off how the past years have gone, but this is the best that I've felt about our O line in very long. Very long. And I think this is a perfect opportunity, a perfect transition into, Matt Filer no longer on the team. I think once we heard the news that Filer was getting cut, we were a little bit nervous, or excuse me, sorry. Once Matt Filer had not been cut for a while, we kind of got nervous about the fact that, oh man, like maybe Pipkins isn't coming back, and maybe Sawyer's just going to hold down that side of the line, but this is perfect for Jamari Sawyer. He can fit right into that role. Pipkins can retain his left tackle position. Depth could come into play later on. Besides Foster Sorrell, there's really nobody off the top of my head. Will Clapp, I guess, and Brennan Hymus, which are two pieces that so far have just been kind of meh for us, but depth could become an issue, but especially for our starting five right now, I feel very, very good for Justin Herbert's health going forward. So,
I do too. No, I agree with you, and I think like I think this season the general consensus in the front office, Tom Telesco ownership was like, hey, we still believe in the roster that we put together a year ago. We can't really do anything about the fact that we can only put 60% of it out there for majority of the season just due to injuries and availability and whatnot. But it's a strong testament that this ownership is like all the contract restructures, all the moves that they've made so far in free agency. It's all testament of, hey, we're doubling down. We believe in the roster that we've put together. Sure, are there a few areas that we can still address and improve and the draft and yeah. So all the restructuring to me seems that like, hey, and I feel this way. Like I think ever since Joe Burrow came out and said, "Hey, the window is my career." That's how I feel about Herbert. Like that narrative of like you have me. What else? Like you always have a shot at fucking winning. Aaron Rodgers has won fucking Super Bowl, but yet like would most franchises still take Aaron Rodgers? Like the Jets are gonna go down that road, right? Like they're about to go down that road, right? Where it's like fuck it, like he's got the talent. Like we can still like we always have a shot with this dude, you know. And
Yeah.
it's the most important position. It's the most important position that matters, and you have a stud, you have a baller. So, but no, it signifies to me like the Chargers are all in, and I feel very confident about this offensive line depth. Well,
Dicey.
that's another story. But no, I feel like come on, give us 1 year, football gods.
Hey,
Let,
well,
like
as of
I
right
just
now,
think
everyone on that O line is healthy. So, well, I think Rashawn Slater's probably healthy by this point, but so I'm just worried about our starting five as of right now, and depth pieces will become a concern when
starting
guys
five
go down.
starting five looks good because I think as of right now, no, with Filer gone, Sawyer is our left guard. So
Yes,
you have as it appears right now, you have Slater, Sawyer, Lindsley, Zion, and Pipkins.
yes. So
So yeah,
yeah,
that that
I love the sound of that. I love
yeah,
the sound of that.
depth another story, but that's another story for another day. Last key piece of news here. Well, at least when it comes to re-signings, Morgan Fox. Welcome back as a Charger. Big signing. This is a huge signing for this defensive line. Obviously, Chargers are expecting guys like Tito Agbania, Austin Johnson, Christian Covington back from injury, but Morgan Fox. This is like one of the touchy subjects for me as a Chargers fan is the fact that it seems like over the last couple of years, anyways, some of the best defensive line play that the Chargers have gotten has come due to the fact that there's been 2 to 3 guys in front of that player that have gotten hurt, which is the only reason
Brutal.
you had the opportunity to fucking play. Guys like Braden Fajoko come to mind, Joe Gaziano, Morgan Fox this past season was thrusted into a role. I mean, it took Austin Johnson, Christian Covington, Tito Agbania, although he was a rookie. I mean, it took 3 significant pieces on that interior defensive line for Morgan Fox to be thrusted into the position that he was, which was a very important position, and he killed it.
Balled. He balled out, dude.
He killed it. So yes, it's flowers for Fox. I'm happy that he's a Charger. I wanted him back as a Charger, but it also is like, what are we doing from a coaching standpoint, from a staff standpoint? That are we just missing like talent evals that bad where we have these types of talents on our roster, and it takes 3 guys to go down to clear a path for this one guy to ball out? Like when other guys, and it's not like the other guys don't get opportunities as well. They get their fair share of reps, and these guys still come in, and it's a noticeable difference. Like Joe Gaziano, Braden Fajoko, no one in this league would sign them to a starting role, but they fucking ball out. Like they're prime depth pieces that don't cost that much, I wouldn't assume. But yeah, no, that's
Yeah. No, I'll pick up from there. I can see that you're a little bit speechless right now, but dude, for me, it's kind of like we've had our fair share of young guys that have definitely deserved second contracts walk over the past few years, but they got this one right. They did get this one right. Morgan Fox, more than deserving, absolute animal last year. Also, adorable dog who has won several dog shows, so that's cool too.
Winston.
Shout out. But they got this one right. So it's
Yeah.
good to see. It's good to see someone like that be able to be in a Chargers uniform after basically, he deserves it. He 100% deserves it, and it feels like over the last few years there's been dudes that have deserved it that we just couldn't really quite get it done, but this is a deserving one that got done, so I'm happy to see that.
That's a great transition into one that they didn't get done. And
R.I.P. Drue Tranquill.
R.I.P.
Career
as
a Charger.
1 year, $3
Don't say the name. Don't say the name of the team. Don't say the name of the team. I'm gonna puke.
So, like, throw out the narrative of Chargers couldn't afford him, and Charger like blah blah blah, like they just money wasn't right. They could no. He took a very very player friendly deal, or team friendly deal, I should say, and he went to a fucking division rival.
Not just any division rival, man. The fucking Chiefs.
And like, what a slap in the face to the Chargers. Like, that's 2 years in a row now that the Chargers have lost premium defensive players to free agency that did not cost anything. And
linebackers for that matter.
Last year, you could make the argument that they at least went out and got Khalil Mack, Kyle Van Noy, and they're like, Kaiser White, we're willing to just let you walk, whatever. We're not going to pay you, whatever. We don't value you the way that the market does. That's fine. We're at least going to reload and go try to win a fucking championship. This year, it backfires. Kyle Van Noy's on the market. You still have Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, but Drue Tranquill walks. You let him walk. Not sure you bring in Eric Kendricks, but let me ask you this: with Drue Tranquill leaving and Eric Kendricks basically replacing him, is a combination of Kendricks, because Kendricks is, I would say, he's past his prime. Would you not?
Oh yeah.
I gotta be honest. So a past prime Eric Kendricks and a Kenneth Murray versus a Drue Tranquill and a Kenneth Murray. Do you think the Chargers get worse at that position group?
Yeah, I don't know yet, man. It's that question's not going to be answered till we at least see, week 1 come around.
And like, granted, like even if the answer is yes right now, like I would say it is. It's not a blow. It's not like, it doesn't hold the same significance as like, did they get worse at defensive end? That would be like, whoa. They got
yeah. I mean, we all
no. Like, linebackers always been the worst, or the weak link of the defense. Like, let's be honest, it's a position that Brandon Staley has said straight up, like, I don't value that as that. Take it or leave it in my defense. Like, we need defensive backs and we need linemen. That's what we need. So it's a weird time to, like, especially as a Chargers fan, like, that grew up, like, I can only imagine Charger fans that grew up in like the 90s with like Junior Seau as their god and savior, and he's a linebacker and like just like one of the best linebackers of all time, and just seeing that and like getting attached to that position and that performance and that talent, and then going from like that to like, what the hell are they doing at line? Like, I feel like it's just a weird time to try to want and expect like good players at that position, because like we said in the last episode, Tom Telesco's already notorious for drafting and not keeping. So it's just a weird, I feel like that's a position on this defense and on this team that's been in limbo basically since like the early 2000s, like Donnie Edwards.
Yeah. We've seen high draft picks be spent on linebackers. You go back to dudes like Donald Butler. He didn't really pan out that much. And then you go to modern day. We wouldn't be having this discussion right now if Kenneth Murray, felt like he was a competent linebacker on this defense, but he just hasn't been through his first few years. I think that's, I don't want to go as far as to say that Brandon Staley just like neglects the usefulness of a good linebacker in the run game, but it's almost like, why are we not? Our run defense, the numbers speak for themselves, and we don't really do much about it. You know, we let Kaiser White walk, we let Drue Tranquill walk, we let all these dudes walk that are a significant upgrade in that position. I understand that in his scheme, you know, he doesn't utilize these linebackers, but it's still it's personnel on the field in the front seven, mind you, where teams have just been absolutely gashing us the past few years. It doesn't make sense to me that we don't bring back these young guys who have done nothing but earn their contracts, especially Drue Tranquill, who has done it on more than just the defensive side of the ball. On the special teams, Drue Tranquill has been such a massive piece for us, especially back, 2 years ago, his rookie year or whatnot. You know, that dude was blocking punts, getting tackles on kick return, punt return, stuff along those lines. It just I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to me how we can't figure out, well, maybe we're bottom five in run defense in the league every single year because this system doesn't value linebackers. That's kind of my take on it.
I think when Staley came in, I was so gung ho on him that you could convince me that, yeah, fuck it, linebackers don't matter. Why do we need linebackers? Like, you got defensive linemen and unlike defensive backs, and they're athletes and they can fill in the gaps. But as a football fan, you just when you see a good linebacker, when you see a Fred Warner,
Oh, I was just about to bring his name up. Yeah, it's so different.
How do you not look at that and be like, I need that for my, like, as a Brandon Staley, as a defensive guru? How do you look at a Fred Warner? You're telling me, like, even if you had a talent like Fred Warner, you're gonna be like, nah, let him hit the market. We don't value linebackers. Like, what? How?
Shit don't make
Why?
no
Why?
sense.
Like I just don't get it. I'm starting to be like, sure, like when a new coach comes in, I'm buying all in, and I'm in. You can tell me anything. You can tell me the sky's purple, and I'll fucking back you up on it. But now it's like 3 years in, you're like, wait a minute. We've had a fucking shitty run defense your first year. Maybe linebackers actually do mean a little bit when it comes to fucking defense in the National Football League. Maybe that is a thing. Maybe that's something to test out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I agree with you completely. I mean, you look at dudes like Fred Warner, like you said. You look at how Luke Kuechly transformed that Panthers defense when he was in his prime, and it's like instead of keeping these younger guys around, we're signing these guys are on the wrong side of 30. And
one of our favorites, Levante David. Tell me how he's managed to stay in one place his entire career. Like, if Tampa Bay has done one thing right, other than sign Tom Brady, it's keep Levante David there for his entire career.
yeah, so yeah, man, I don't know. It's something that's been puzzling to me these last two off seasons. These guys have earned everything that they've worked for, and we let them walk, let alone to the fucking Chiefs. Oh,
Bro, and that's that. But those are the dangers of free agency. And I feel like the Chiefs are one of the teams that, like, they already are so talented. They're so talented at like player wise, and they're so competent front office wise. Like, that combination, like, you just have a powerhouse of a fucking organization. And I feel like they're one of those organizations. They do this the best, where like they poach from division rivals, because like division rivals are fucking dumb and they let players hit the market. And it's like, you let a guy like, how, like, it just it pisses me. It's annoying. It's on my side because we're Charger fans, but it's also like there's a certain level of fucking respect at some point. It's like, dude, at what point are we going to stop being fucking idiots and take up like a page out of their book and be like, hey, actually, we can sign these fucking players that kick our ass every year and we get so sick of it, we can just add them to our fucking team.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that this only confirms one thing, and that is that Travis Kelce is going to be a Charger. So
no, never.
No, I know. I'm just kidding on that. But dude, yeah, the maybe even the saddest part of this is Drue Tranquill signing over there, and he's going to be a rotational piece for them. He's probably like going to be fourth or fifth on their depth chart and be a total special team guru.
I'd say third. He's definitely behind Bolton and Gay.
Gay. Yeah, Bolton Gay. They got Leo Chenal as well, but I don't know. But at least he won't be a starter. I can
No,
tell you that much.
nope. I I agree. But
Let's just.
I think in his mind he's ring chasing for a year. It's only a 1 year deal. He's going to try to reset the market for himself, and I think he's looking for the big deal next year. So it's a gamble. We'll see how it pays off. Best of luck to you. Wish you wouldn't have signed with the Chiefs, but I hope your podcast tanks. JK. Actually, no, I'm
Are
being
we? Are we, JK?
anyways. The other big news. This is the last bit of news here before we actually get to the one topic that we have to talk about today. Nasir Adderley calls it quits on a career. Jesus Christ, this is beer number like 8 for me. Calls it quits on a career after 4 years. Retires, and major shock. I think this is the latest of players that to really hang it up before their time, and it's a trend that we're seeing. It's a trend it's over the last handful of years, last decade or so, has definitely become more of a mainstream thing. I mean, fuck, it was highlighted by the whole Andrew Luck, you know,
Mm-hmm.
scene a couple of years ago. So we're seeing more and more players be like, you know what, football's not my life. You know, I have a family. I'd like to enjoy the rest of my life, and we make a lot of money doing playing a game. And I just feel like I feel like those guys in my eyes are winners. You know, if you can make your money, get your glory days in, and still, shit, just to even make money off your glory days. I mean, most of us, our glory days are just, oh yeah, back in high school. You know, like
Yeah.
so to set your family up and to set yourself up. That's cool. So congrats on him. I hope he enjoys retirement. And I'll always have some really good Nasir Adderley memories. I'll always have a
Oh
few
yeah.
stored in my brain. Some big plays, and I feel like he's one of those guys. He didn't make, kind of similar to like Michael Davis. Didn't always make like the biggest, flashiest play, but you knew he was effective, and you never really heard his name. You know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, man, gonna miss him. I remember where I was when we drafted him, and I remember being hyped for him. And he comes from a Hall of Fame bloodline. Herb Adderley, his grandpa, safety, I believe, as well, safety or wide receiver, but it was a Packer, and he's a Hall of Famer. So fun fact, but yeah, man, crazy news.
Yep. Congrats, Nasir. Thank you for your years as a Charger. Thank you for retiring instead of signing with our division rivals. I will never forget the hit that you put on Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year. That literally made me jump up and down in my seat in front of a bunch of Chiefs fans. So thank you for that moment. And yeah, appreciate everything. As for our safety room now, I think that we both agree perfectly comfortable with Alohi Gilman stepping into that starting role full time now. And JT Woods who knows, could be a wild card. Hope
John
that
Johnson.
he's John Johnson. We'll get to some free agents here pretty soon, but yeah. Thanks for everything this year, and I'm pretty comfortable with our safety room right now. So
Yeah, no, I feel so much better about Alohi Gilman going into this season than I did last season. And a lot of that is just to his credit, man. Like, he balled out, proved me wrong. One of those players where it's like, you don't, he kind of came into the organization, didn't get a lot of playing time his first year and a half ish. And it's hard to assess a player. It's just hard to judge a player as a fan. Like, as a casual, I mean, I'm not saying we're casual fans, but I'm saying, like, to a casual fan, and even to us, like, we're not there every day at practice. We don't see all the reps. We don't see the progress. We don't see, it's like anyone that's ever an athlete knows the progress is made on the Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays when no one's around, you know? So yeah, I mean, excited to see how he gets better, and he balled out last year. So I'm that's one player that I'm genuinely excited for. going into the season. So, yeah.
100%. So,
Well, that wraps it up for the news. Pivoting into free agency now. We wrapped up our first wave of free agency. Free agency, I feel like over the last couple of years, it just keeps getting, at least in the NFL, it keeps getting wilder, crazier, stranger, less by the book. And I feel like, especially last year, it almost like free agency itself almost like extended into the regular season. Like there was still at times over the first month or two of the season, there were still like big name veteran players out on the market that were just like basically waiting for teams to like have an injury or two, you know?
yeah.
I mean, guys like the Eagles last year, on their Super Bowl run, signed defensive linemen like Linval Joseph, shout out to the former Charger, and Ndamukong Suh, shout out to the former Husker. Like, deep into the season at that. So I feel like free agency is always constantly morphing, but for the most part, you're going to see a majority of the action in the next, this last week, but also the next week or two to come leading up to the draft. So, with that being said, the Chargers have about $6.5 million in spending space. Last episode, we kind of like did a little wish list of players out on the free market that we would like to see in Charger uniforms. This week, I want to pivot more and focus on the current Chargers that are free agents that are still out on the market that haven't been signed by anyone else, and the Chargers still have not brought back. There's only 6 of them. There were 7 of them, but with the Chargers cutting Matt Filer, that narrows us down to 6. Let's see. How do we want to do this? Do we want to go player by player? Yeah, let's do that. Let's go player by player. So, starting us off, of Chargers that are still free agents, we have Kyle Van Noy. Kyle Van Noy, very productive down the stretch this last year for the Chargers. I don't have his numbers pulled up in front of me, so I'm not going to try to pretend to spit numbers off. But based on his performance last year, would you bring back Kyle Van Noy? Would you not? If you would, what's the right price? Like, is there a price that you would bring him back at, or is it just a flat out, thanks for your service, I'll always remember that one season as a Charger?
Yeah, I think for the right price, maybe another 1-year deal for Kyle Van Noy. I definitely would consider bringing him back. Like you said, I don't quite remember the numbers, but especially later on in the season, he really felt like he came into his own. We really relied on him a ton for majority of the season with the Joey Bosa injury. And then, kind of when Bosa was starting to, there was some rumblings about him making his return. It felt like Kyle Van Noy stepped up a little bit. I remember a sack against the Dolphins game. I think he had like 3 straight weeks with the sack late in the season. So I think for the right price, a 1, maybe 2-year deal, just considering how much older he is, he's due for a decline coming soon. I'd bring him back for the right price.
I think a 1-year deal, I don't know what the market says, and I don't know what his agent and him would be asking. But he would make a lot of sense as far as bringing him back to run it back, because the Chargers initially really brought him on to be kind of like linebacker outside or linebacker edge hybrid, and really he just ended up being an edge for the entire season. There was no, so I wonder if the Chargers are really in, not that they aren't, but not like the moves that they haven't already made, but it could just be one more move of being like, hey, we're doubling down. We want to bring him back at the right price for a 1-year deal, because we actually do want to see him in that hybrid role if we can stay healthy. We brought him back with this specific vision in mind. And yes, he excelled down the stretch and he saved our ass at times, but we still think we can put him in, in this position excel. I don't know. I don't see him personally coming back as a Charger. I would be surprised if he did, but I do. I would say personally, I don't. I think he's done as a Charger. I think it's just one of those 1 year. Hey, thanks for your service. We'll always remember your 1 year as a Charger. Um, Thank you for being the latest Taquillo Spikes.
Wow, that's a name that I haven't heard in a while. But yeah, I don't know. I think he really brings a veteran presence into that locker room too, which is just another thing that the stat sheets don't fill, especially for younger guys like Chris Rumpf. Um, I'd like him back. Will he come back? I haven't. I've been giving no indications of him coming back. So I don't. I would also lean towards the side of him not coming back. But again, cheap 1 year deal. I wouldn't hate having Kyle Van Noy back. So
No, if they can find a cheap 1 year option, oh my god, I would absolutely take him back for a depth piece, especially whether it's edge or linebacker. Yeah, no. If that's an option, I would not be opposed to it, but I have no idea what that looks like. Next player I wanted to get to because it's definitely a player I would love to bring back, but are the Chargers able to bring him back with $6.5 million left to spend? And that is Bryce Callahan. I think, in my opinion, by far the best free agent acquisition that they made in 2022. Just balled out from week one, the interception in the Raiders game, all the way through. He had a late injury going into the playoffs, but
who didn't have a late injury last year though? Let's be honest,
right,
or an injury in
but
general.
just followed
So
it consistently, and just look like the marriage of him and Brandon Staley, like they just seem to get each other. It's a system that he knows, and I mean that's the whole reason he became a Charger, is because like Brandon Staley's like this guy knows how we want to run a defense, and he understands it, and that seems to be a big theme with Staley, is like trust and understanding and knowing like what the ultimate end goal is with that defense. So I think they would. My personal thought on Bryce Callahan is I think everyone would love in the front office, and they know it, and everyone knows it. Everyone would love him back. I think it's more so an issue of can they make it work
can
numbers
we?
wise, and have they already crunched the numbers and been like, it's fact we can't make it right. Like he bet on himself last year and won. Like his performance in the market itself says like he's going to make X amount, and the Chargers are probably like, we don't want to pay that much, or we can't.
Yeah.
Pay that. So like, is the writing already on the wall, and they're just kind of like waiting for the day where it shows up on the ticker? Bryce Callahan signs with the Broncos.
The Chiefs.
Or where did Vic Fangio end up going? The Dolphins? Yeah, the Dolphins.
Dolphins, yeah.
And to go join Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. That would be fun.
God, I fucking hate the Dolphins. But yeah, Bryce Callahan he's looking at this list of guys. He's definitely first or second on my priority list of bringing back. But like you mentioned, he bet on himself last year. He deserves a nice contract after what he did last year. If I would love to have him back, dude can ball. But if we don't have the room for him, thanks for what you did for us last season. Thanks for that pick six, whatever game you had that in. What game did he have the pick six in? Was it the Broncos? I don't know. You guys know what we're referring to. I can see the play in my head, just can't remember the team it was against. It was later on in the season, but yeah, thanks for your time, Bryce Callahan. Hopefully we can reach a deal, but
Titans?
No, because we only had like 17 points against the Titans.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
Anyways,
I'll look it up later. But
painful one and done.
Yes, definitely. But like I just mentioned, he's earned whatever contract he's going to be getting, and as long as it's not with the team in the AFC West or the Dolphins, I'll be okay.
Get out of the AFC, please.
Or yeah, you can just stay out of the AFC. Yeah, true. So
next two guys I want to bring up, I well, let's go through them one by one. But I already know what I'm thinking, and I think you're thinking the same thing. And I think if I'm thinking right, most Charger fans are thinking the same thing. DeAndre Carter and Jalen Guyton, also free agents that the Chargers have not signed and are still on the open market. I am not opposed, or excuse me, I do not want to bring back either of these guys. I think as of right now, I mean, wide receiver depth, we obviously know who our top three are still our top three. Um, DeAndre Carter, to me, what we brought him in to be like Andre Roberts, but even like better at receiver, so he could be like an Andre Roberts, but also an option in the receiving game. And it turns out that DeAndre Carter is just a decent wide receiver, and he's got speed. He doesn't need to be a returner because he sucks at returning. That's what we learned this last year. Um, so that's some speed. I don't see the Chargers bringing him back. I don't really want him back. I think they can get speed. I think they have speed on the roster in other ways that they can get creative and use it, aka guys on practice squad or guys on futures contracts. But yeah, I don't know. I think the same thing with Carter, kind of like the first two guys we talked about. I see him kind of as a one and done Charger and a couple memorable plays, but all in all together, like replaceable and on to the next.
Yes, I would agree. When it comes to DeAndre Carter, thank you. Hope you had a lot of fun running all those jet sweeps that Joe Lombardi called for you. Us as fans, it was painful to watch, but again, sorry you're put in that position, man. But thanks for your time as a Charger. Adios. There we go. That is my feelings on DeAndre Carter. But Jalen Guyton is someone I feel very differently about.
Okay,
Jalen Guyton,
I feel kind of the same way about Jalen Guyton. Like, what are you doing besides like just are you just what are
he
you doing?
takes the top off of defenses, is what he
Yeah,
does.
okay. Does he really do that, or is it something that a defense can anticipate and be like, hey, he's a decoy. Like they know he's a decoy.
I disagree, man. I think especially coming off an ACL tear, I think Jalen Guyton can sign for a very cheap deal. Um,
That I
and
agree.
I 100% would like to have Jalen Guyton back. I do expect us to assess speed at the receiver position in the draft. But I mean, shit, man, who knows what's going to happen come draft night? I would love to have kind of this safety net behind us of Jalen Guyton returning for a cheap deal. Dude, it feels like every single time I'm thinking about Justin Herbert's rookie year, I'm thinking of Jalen Guyton and Tyron Johnson catching touchdowns. So maybe that's just a nostalgia of how much I loved his
There's
rookie
like a two
season.
minute. There's like a 2 minute highlight clip of both of them catching touchdowns in just the Tampa Bay Bucks game.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the first two highlights that come to mind from that season is both those touchdowns from Jalen Guyton and Tyron Johnson. Um, so I think that he possesses a speed that this defense or this offense really missed last year. I would definitely love for him to return as, like I mentioned, kind of that safety net for just in case shit happens on draft night, which shit happens on draft night. So yeah, that's how I feel on Jalen Guyton. I'd love him back, but at a cheap price, which I couldn't imagine anyone else paying him. Paying Jalen Guyton top dollar, which top dollar for a guy like Jalen Guyton is not a ton, but
Could be a blessing in disguise, but yeah, maybe that torn ACL actually keeps him around because of the market and no one wanting to pay any money for a guy an unproven guy coming off an injury like that. So yeah, maybe the Chargers re-sign him. Um, do we, do you really want to run a like not trying to phrase this question in a negative way, but are you really comfortable with running back another season of the top 4 wide receivers of Allen Williams, Palmer Guyton?
No. So I'm going to answer that question with his no.
Okay, so if it's that emphatic of a no, do you really
But
Guyton back?
no, I'm just saying that I really believe we're going to assess receiver in the first round. But for my sake of mind, re-signing Guyton would be nice to have before the draft, so we know. Well, at least we're not rolling out there with Keenan Allen and his bum ass hamstrings, Mike Williams and his bum ass ankle, and Joshua Palmer.
That's dumb to me because if you resign him in that capacity of like, well, we need depth before the draft. Are you talking after? Is this pre-draft or post-draft?
I'm thinking pre-draft.
Okay, so yeah, if you're going to sign him pre-draft, then that negates any need to draft a wide receiver.
No, I don't think so because there's
No, because
guys that are also fast that possess.
well, if you resign him, you're definitely not taking one in the first round. You're definitely not taking
I disagree. I disagree. I think you can re-sign Guyton and still take a speedy receiver first round. Okay. If that's your question, if it comes down to whether or not I want to
like fuck Guyton, like thanks for your service, but I'll just take the new pup, the new rook.
All right. Well, if that's what it comes down to, is either re-signing Jalen Guyton or taking a fast receiver at 21.
Because I'm not going to
Goodbye, Jalen Guyton. Like that's a no-brainer.
I'm not spending money on Jalen Guyton when we only have $6.5 million to spend. If we're just going to replace him in 3 weeks.
Well, because Jalen Guyton could make basically zero dent in that $6 million is kind of what I'm thinking.
I'm allocated. If I was Tom Telesco, I'm allocating the rest of that money to the defense and trying to solve as many problems as I can on the defensive side of the ball before the draft. Because I want to focus the draft offensively. And sure, there's going to be a few defensive selections in there and needs and things to address. But majority, I want to address this offense. We need playmakers. We need to restock we need playmakers. We need to go find some of those guys in the later rounds that are going to be around for 3 or 4 years and keep. So
yeah, and put forth a great impact, and then we don't re-sign them after 3 or 4 years. But
right,
we'll take 3 or 4 years, I guess. But that's 3 or 4 years down the road, dude. I might have a family by then. Who knows? So
3 or 4 years down the road, Bosa's not going to be on the fucking books.
Oh hell no. We can. That's a whole nother. We're going down a whole nother rabbit hole. Let's just.
Mag ain't gonna be on the butt, and JC Jet.
We're going down a way another rabbit hole now that we could talk about for a whole another hour of an episode.
Right. So
end of discussion for me. All right, go ahead. End of discussion for me. If re-signing Jalen Guyton means we don't take a receiver at 21, goodbye Jalen Guyton. But I think that I personally think it's possible.
Why would you want to Here's the thing: if you're going to resign, you're basically addressing that need, so that you don't have to address it in the draft. That's what you're doing by re-signing Jalen Guyton. So you're basically saying we don't have to worry about wide receiver in round 1 because we have the depth. So now you can basically be like, well, now we've narrowed it down to tight end, running back, defensive end, defensive back, best player available, whatever it is. It's free agency also serves as a purpose is it's just how much can you problem solve before the actual draft, and how much can you how much of your roster can you patch back up so that you don't have to leave it to the draft to fill starting positions.
All right, here's kind of what I'm thinking. I think that there's more of a possibility that we take a receiver at 21 and re-sign Jalen Guyton than there is of us not re-signing. No, sorry. Why I'm saying that I think that there's a chance that we don't re-sign Jalen Guyton and then also don't go receiver at 21.
I think there's a chance Jalen Guyton has played. I think there's a 99% chance Jalen Guyton has played his last snap as a Charger. And what I'm trying to ask you is, why do you think? In what world would it make sense for us to re-sign him, especially if we're going to go
Because we don't know
to
who's going to be
a
there at
receiver in the
21. We don't
draft?
know who's going to. What if Zay Flowers is gone at 21? What
Bro,
if Jalen Hyatt's gone at
at this
21?
point, do you really think if the difference is Joe Reed versus Jalen Guyton at the 4 position?
I'm taking Jalen.
It ain't
Now
gonna.
we're
Okay, sure, you can have a preference. I'm not saying you can't have a preference, but I'm saying like, I
now
mean,
we
bro,
brought Joe Reed into the conversation, man. We
Michael,
are down bad.
If Michael Bandy was wide receiver 4, I'd be comfortable with this fucking team. Like, wide receiver 4 to me is a position, but it's like if you the wide receiver 1 through 3 obviously are the ones that you want to fucking. If you have those filled, your 4th doesn't have to be a fucking all-star. Your 4th doesn't even have to be.
Not an all-star, but you want him to bring something to the table.
How did Wes Welker and guys like Julian Edelman even make a dent in the league? Because at one point,
white.
Bill Belichick was like, "Why are we fucking spending money on a wide receiver 4? We got this fucker. We got what was fucking the lacrosse player that turned
Chris Hogan.
Chris Hogan. Hey, Chris Hogan, an NFL wide receiver for Tom Brady, and they won multiple Super Bowls with him.
I'm just saying, for the right price, I wouldn't hate to see him back. So.
No. I'm just saying, like, I'm getting on a soapbox.
Cameron Dicker did steal his number, so he's got to figure that out. But it's all right.
Getting on the soapbox of like we don't need him, and it's like dumb. And it's just like I think, in my opinion, if they're gonna address anything at wide receiver, just do it in the draft.
All right. Well, I'll agree with you there
because you get potential, you get the young age, you get the talent, it's yeah.
You got to look at other holes though that could potentially be filled at 21.
Think about if like this year's late round prospects, like this year's Nasir Taylor or Dean Leonard, we're like, damn, those guys are actually like decent like defensive back prospects, and like I think they might be on this team for a minute. Imagine if that's a wide receiver.
That's basically Joe Reed.
Well, no, because like Joe Reed never even like got to that level.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Like, no, but imagine like
I understand what you're saying.
Imagine we take one in like round 6, and on draft day we're like, oh, okay, sure, whatever,
And then preseason rolls around, and
kid from Wake Forest, I don't fucking know anything about him, whatever. And then it's like by week 6, you're like, dude, this guy's a fucking stud. Like
Jamari Sawyer.
Right. So
right. We'll agree to disagree. We both know how important speed is going to be to this offense going forward.
We have two guys left to talk about here before we get off. We got on a really big tangent with the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Braden Fehoko and Troy Reeder. We'll start with Braden Fehoko. Now, from my understanding, the Chargers did not re-sign him. They didn't tender him, excuse me. But they're basically letting him test the open market. It's not a good buy as of now. It's kind of a see you later. And Fehoko gets a chance to test the open market. The Chargers, are letting him do that, which I think is an honorable thing to do. But Fehoko is a guy I think has earned some dough. I think at the right dollar, I would love to see him back. I can't imagine he's going to demand too much. I don't know what that market looks like. He's not a starter, so I have no fucking idea what that even entails. But I would love to see him make his way back in powder blue in 2023. I mean, he's just been a fan favorite, obviously. He's been on multiple podcasts. He's, just every fan loves him.
Very active on Twitter,
media. He's vocal and he's vibrant. So fan favorite. Would love to see him back. And he's just a dog, man. Like he's got that DNA in him. So
yeah.
Last guy here that we're talking about is Troy Reeder, another guy, excuse me, that I would love to see back. So out of these 6 guys that we've talked about, Kyle Van Noy, Bryce Callahan, DeAndre Carter, Jalen Guyton, Braden Fehoko, Troy Reeder, Callahan, Fehoko, and Reeder. Those 3 to me are the ones that I know money, like if you can make the money work, I would love to bring those 3 guys back. But it also comes at the price of like, well, what if you can go get someone else in the market that isn't, like that, like Eric Kendricks. He's not
Yeah.
a Charger, but maybe you just go, instead of re-signing Kyle Van Noy, you go get it. Like there's guys out there on the market like that too. So, yeah, man, lots more to come. We're only about one wave through free agency. So, but real quick, I mean, thoughts on Fehoko and Reeder. I mean, me personally, like, I love Fehoko, great run stopper. I want him back. And then for Reeder, dude was a fucking savage on special teams. And I think he's just such a big depth piece behind the scenes. Like he's never going to get any recognition. He's never going to be, the headline in an article. But I think he was a big reason why we had so much success on special teams this year. And I would love to see him back, especially for that role, but also just an in-depth role. Like, he's another one of those guys that Staley brought in because he trusts and, he knows the system. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see both of them back. Also, like you mentioned, Reeder in special teams was huge. Him along with Nick Neiman really were two standouts on that unit for me this last year. Two guys that, kind of, well, I mean, Neiman was, why am I even talking about Nick Neiman? We don't need to talk about Nick Neiman. But Nick Neiman and Troy Reeder are pretty much the same person to me at this point.
Same, but different.
Yeah. So, but both important pieces, and that depth on that defensive line is detrimental towards our success in stopping the run, and that's where Braden Fehoko comes into play. So, I think our defense is a better unit when we get him snaps on game days. Not necessarily, I'm not saying give him the entire snaps of our defense, but he's a great rotational piece that, like you mentioned, fan favorite, very active on social media, and yeah, for the right price for both those guys, I'd love to see him back in Powder Blue next year.
I 100% agree, man. I think that about wraps us up for today's episode. So, anything else you want to add in, throw in? I mean, we've talked about the latest news, the latest signings, the latest moves, the latest departures. Anything else you want to throw in there?
I really hope we have a headline about Jalen Guyton re-signing to the Chargers before our next episode.
Oh, piss off.
I'm just pulling your leg. Hey, we'll agree to disagree. We all know we need speed at receiver. I don't give a shit how we get it. Let's just get it. So,
all right. I like it. Let's get it, baby. Make sure you guys are following us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and now YouTube. That's right. We have a brand new YouTube channel, which we will be publishing our full episodes to those as well, our full video recording. So make sure to go check that out. Same handle. Everything is the same handle. All of our social medias at Powder Hour Pod LA. You can catch us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all at that same handle. So go check us out. Support us. We appreciate you guys for listening along. As always, bolt up, and we'll see you next time.